23 Arts Commission meeting at 7 o'clock. If we could please take roll call.
Why don't I check on the audio before I do the call?
Can we just do the whole meeting that way?
Charming at, what could be charming at first might get a little heavy.
I'm coming out of here in a different state of mind if we do that.
Yeah, what kind of presentation did you do?
It was on the Clapham River Basin geology.
Beautiful work.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Are those,
It's actually really close.
what are those?
I think smartphone.
Audio is okay now?
Okay, all right, we haven't tried it yet.
I don't want to stop it from.
Should I repeat?
Yes, yes,
I'm like, where's the hearing?
Okay, we're going to do a call to order for the Oregon City Arts Commission for July 20, 2023 at 7 p.m. So if we could please do a call to order.
Terrific.
Roll call.
Tima Carlson,
Present.
Trieste Andrews,
Present.
Karen Burrig,
Present.
choir,
Present.
Selena Jones,
Here?
and also Jen Woodward.
Here.
Josh Planton has an excused absence, and Tammy Jo Wilson also has an excused absence tonight.
Okay, so if we can review today's agenda, and then we will take a vote for adoption of the agenda.
Did you mention that there's one of the items won't be on the agenda?
No, I haven't mentioned that.
And are we reviewing minutes, meeting minutes from the?
I do not have meeting
Okay.
minutes prepared. When we meet in August, I think I'm gonna have 3 months for you guys.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I think we'll have at least 2 months next time. There is one item on tonight's agenda. Salvador from the Regional Arts and Culture Council is not able to join us tonight. He reached out to us because he wanted to talk about RACC's Going Public program, which is an assistance program for mural painters and mural artists. And I think it provides assistance from everything on how to get permits to how to run a business. I mean, I think it's quite a comprehensive support program, and he wants to know how he might be able to promote it in Clackamas County and Oregon City. So he'd like to come in September. I did also offer, I'd like to have a conversation with him before he comes and makes a public presentation, just to learn a little bit more about what kind of outreach he wants to do in Oregon City and what kind of support we might be able to provide. So if anyone on the Arts Commission would like to join me, it'll be during the workday, but we can find a time. If anyone would like to join me in the call with him, we can schedule a time.
I would love to do that.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay, if someone can please make a motion for adoption of the agenda for July 20.
I motion to adopt the agenda. I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, we have an agenda for today. We'll be going with presentations first. Overview of the Willamette Falls Symphony Orchestra activities.
Our speaker tonight is Carol Dumond from the Willamette Falls Symphonic Orchestra.
Hello?
Hi.
How many of you knew that there was a symphony orchestra in Oregon City?
I don't count it.
Amazing. Most of the time when we go, when we talk to people, we find that they never knew that there was such a thing. And part of that, I suppose, is that it started 42 years ago, 1981, with a small group of 8 players. And it was fairly, I don't want to say lackadaisical, but it was fairly informal in the early days. And there weren't that many players, but more and more players joined. And they began to want to get better. And they finally hired Mark Perlman as a conductor in 2001. And since then, he has made it, he has fostered the growth of this orchestra so that it has become really pretty darn good. His father was David Perlman, who was the principal bassist for George Szell and the Cleveland Orchestra. So Mark grew up watching George Szell a lot. This is one of the best conductors America's ever produced. And he always wanted to be a conductor, although at the time he was teaching philosophy at Western Oregon University and just conducting gigs and bass gigs whenever he could, because when you love music, you love music. Anyway, he has helped the players grow musically, and he has helped the orchestra grow in terms of numbers. His work has attracted a lot of really good players, and there are some that we're extremely proud of. And then there's me, but, I'm in the viola section, you can hardly see. Anyway, people come to our concerts sometimes after their friends have urged them for quite a while, and they come and they listen, they say, oh, I didn't really expect it to be that good. And that's because it's an Oregon City. How good can it be, right? Well, it can be pretty darn good. We have, one of our projects is the Oregon Mahler Festival. I'm going to a rehearsal later tonight. It's being held in Lake Oswego because there isn't a venue in Oregon City big enough for a Mahler orchestra or for a Mahler audience. And so we go to Lake Oswego High School. We usually perform up at Oregon City United Methodist Church on South End Road. We're packing them in, though. We're getting really crowded performances. So far, the fire people haven't yelled at us, but it's only a matter of time. We get world-class soloists who come in and play for very little money because they want to be with our group. We had Darren Quall, we had Anthea, I'm blanking on her name. Oh, this is awful. Anthea, come on. The one who played, anyway. And we also, every other year, we have a concerto competition for our members, and we never run short of members who are able to produce a good quality performance. And the other year, we have a youth concerto competition in which we invite local youth under 18 to audition. And the winners get to perform with the Symphony Orchestra. They get to perform one movement of a concerto with the Symphony Orchestra. I've sent Anna a copy of one of these that we just did the other month. And if you want to, you can ask her to pass it on. These are quite good kids. And I think this program that we have is very beneficial to local kids who want to learn performance. We have also had a couple of years in which we did Peter and the Wolf tours to the Oregon City schools. We hit all of the Oregon City elementary schools and a couple of middle schools as well. And that was very well received. We charge a maximum of $15 a ticket. If you go to the Oregon Symphony, they're better than we are. Not that much. Not that much that they can pay, that you have to pay 100 times as much. Well, not 100 times, 10 times as much for a really good ticket. When you come to see a community orchestra, you always get a good seat. You get free parking, and the parking is easy to find, and you don't have to drive for half an hour. It's right here in Oregon City. And we have done a great many really complicated and wonderful pieces. We've done everything from Harry Potter to cowboy music to a Star Trek concert. We've done Shostakovich 5 just this year, and that was a treat for the viola players. It was really great. Tchaikovsky's 5th as well. We're gonna do Sibelius 1st coming up in October, and we're doing serious music. We're also doing a lot of important modern music. Every one of our concerts features music by a woman composer. And most of these women have been born since 1950, which makes them modern composers. if you're born before 1950, you're a historic composer, and that makes me a historic composer, because I wrote an opera back in 2016, and it was a 10-minute opera. It was a comic opera. We occasionally give comedy concerts, and I got to sing. And it is a wonderful, wonderful experience. I've been in other orchestras, and before I took up the viola at the age of 57, I was a singer, and I sang in a great many groups, and I've been with a lot of conductors, and I have had only one other performing group in which I felt so much part of the family as I do in this particular orchestra. It is a great vibe. It is a bunch of people who really, really want to play. We calculated, and we were looking for a grant this year. We had to get a matching figure for in-kind or cash donations. And we calculated the cash value of the work that is donated by the musicians, each one of whom learned to play and practiced on their own at their own expense. The value is about $80,000 a year, given, just given. And I don't know what to say. It's one of the best experiences of my life has been working with the Willamette Falls Symphony. I really, really love it. And I think we would really like to get more people in Oregon City to know about it. We would like to also see, if there is any possible way, we'd like to see some performing arts space in this area. We know it could be a black box facility, which could accept theater as well, musicals. There are so many groups. There are improv groups and repertoire groups. There are choirs, there are other small bands, and there's us. I think it's about time for Oregon City to have one of these, because we don't have enough places for people to gather, for the community to gather and get together and develop the feeling of community. It's not, I know that there's a lot of talk since Malcolm Gladwell came out with the whole idea of density being a good thing. It is a great thing in New York City, because in New York City, there's all these facilities where people can get together because of the density and meet. I'm up in Trailview, above the Oregon Trail, the end of the Oregon Trail, and I cannot walk to a coffee shop because it's sort of the suburb of a suburb up there. Oregon City needs to be more of a community. I think it's about ready to get there because it's gotten bigger. It's gotten more important. We're getting a gourmet section. Symphony orchestras and other performing groups bring in people from other areas who want to have a nice night out on the town. They can eat at our gourmet restaurants and watch listen to our concerts. It's time.
Yeah.
And I hope I can convince you of that. Any questions?
So what would you like from us? What can we do for you as the Art Commission?
Thank you. I don't really know what the Arts Commission does generally, so maybe you could, I know it's a commission. I know I've seen other arts commissions. I don't know how much pull you have in the city government or even in the plans for building things like performing arts facilities.
Yeah, having an art cultural center has been a lot of our discussions over the last year and a half. You have our full support to try to do that. And we are new and we're educating ourselves on governmental process and how that goes about as an advisory. But that has always, I think, from the first day we met, it was on the table. How do we go about getting an art cultural center? And I love it that I think more and more people are talking, because all we can do is bring the public's request to government. And we can start to say, this person has this organization. So
Yes.
that helps a lot.
And this organization really would like to see something like that happen. We would even, I think it would be probably a good thing to bring in the Grand Ronde tribes because,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
they've got a legitimate right to be part of this community as well. They are part of this community.
Right.
And, you know, we shouldn't exclude anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
We're really interested in that. If there's anything that we can do to help you
Funding.
in convincing them.
Funding.
Yeah, we
Any
need
avenues of funding. for
We
you.
need funding, and you need funding
it.
too, right?
Yeah, that would be kind of some of the avenues we'd have to explore is what kind of funding is available.
Do you know any rich people?
That's the way that a lot of other towns do it. They find a private donor.
Yeah, choir?
As far as like, you said that you had applied for a grant last year, we just were able to do.
I'm sorry, I have an ear thing and the
Oh,
hiss
yeah.
from the lights kind of.
One way we can help too is, we just were able to do our first round of grants, receiving applications and giving out grants. So we expect to be doing another round next year and the year after. So just so that you're aware of that. And we put that information out through a couple different ways. So I think we did it through RACC, and we let the Three Rivers Artists Guild know, and then we put it out.
And Soul Flags.
Yeah.
We put it in the Trail News.
Black
Yeah.
County Arts Alliance.
So my question is too, how can we better let the arts community know when we have something to give them? You know, like where would you have found that grant? Where would you be looking for a grant for?
Where would we look for?
A grant, like.
Oh, we're looking for grants all the time.
No, I understand that.
RACC.
Like, where are you finding them? Through RACC?
Where do we find the?
Yeah, where are you looking for them? Like,
We're looking for them locally. When the Women's Philharmonic Association was still around, we got grants from them occasionally, but we haven't heard from them since COVID. They kind of stopped being there, which is too bad. We've gone to RACC. We go to there are state grants and regional grants. And occasionally we will get a grant from, for example, Leo F. Brown was a teacher in the Oregon City schools, did not have a family, died and left all of his money in a trust for educational purposes. And he was a music educator, so his trust has given us about $20,000 as a one-time grant. They actually followed that up with $10,000 as another one-time grant. Occasionally, people will give us, you know, the small amounts, 10,000 like that. We take in about $2,000 in admissions every concert, but we spend $6,000 to $8,000 every concert. Wow. So we bleed money. This is the nature of the arts, as you know, right? It's. I spent my working life as an attorney for the California Public Utilities Commission so that I could spend time after work. I would have after work and weekends, which you don't have as an attorney in the private sector. And I cut I had like a quarter of the salary I would have had outside. In fact, I did once have a big money downtown job and I quit it. Took a 75% pay cut to go to work for the commission because I could take weekends and evenings off, and I sang with Pacific Mozart Ensemble for 10 seasons. I made some movies. I made a CD. I did a lot of singing in the clubs around there. I sang with country groups. I sang with rock groups. I was with Double Funk Crunch and what was the other one? Baby Snuffkin. And I mean, I did a lot of music, and I had my own band for a while. And that was great too. But you don't make money at that. You make money in your day job. That's why we have day jobs. And it's worth it. If you are addicted to music, as I am, from the age of 3, you have to have it. And you will do whatever you can to get it. And it's legal, so why not, right? Anyway, we would like you to come to our performances.
The other thing I heard from you was that you wish you had more visibility as the Willamette Falls.
We do.
What are some of your, what have you been able to do in order to, do you have like a social media person that does social media for you? Do you, yeah.
Yeah, we have had social media people, but they're all kind of my age, or not much younger, and
Right.
But now we've got a couple of young people who are really into it. Haley Wygant is a bass player, and she's like in her mid-30s, and she's really got it going on, and she's been doing some publicity. Last year I got, even though it was still COVID, I got a big spread in Oregon City News. I don't know if you ever read that. But it was below the fold, but it was still right on the front page. And we actually, I know some people did read it because we got a trumpet player from that. I don't know about audience, but we put up flyers. There are local businesses that support us, and we can put up our flyers there. But you pass shops all the time with flyers in them. You don't read everything because you don't necessarily go shopping so that you can read the flyers on the window, right?
And Carol, I can also give you Jared Lyman's contact information. He's the communications manager for the city.
The communications manager?
Yeah, so like I mentioned the Trail News as one place where we promoted the Arts Commission grant. And so other community events get advertised in the Trail News. So you should definitely let people know when concerts are coming up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
We are also, the conductor and I sit on the Performing Arts Committee of the Clackamas County Arts Alliance. And we have a little network going where we publicize our concerts to each other, but there aren't enough people who are checking in with our comprehensive announcements page. I'm not even sure it's up. It goes up and down sporadically, so that's not really great. Talk to people. I mean, it can't hurt to spread the word, but of course, I think the communications director will probably be a more widespread way to do it. I would like you to come to our concerts. I would like you to come to our concerts and hear us and make up your mind for yourselves whether you like us or not. And if you really like us, be proselytizers. Go out and preach.
So where are we finding a schedule, or where are we getting notified of performances? And
I'm glad you asked that. WillametteFallsSymphony.org. All one word, Willamette Falls Symphony. And you know how to spell all those three words. .org. We also have a YouTube page, Willamette Falls Symphony. And we also have a Facebook page as well as the YouTube page. So
About the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce, have you ever considered joining that as a member?
I think
super support from the community.
we did once, and that was before my time. I only joined in 2008 because I was in California before that. And no, I joined in 2007, excuse me. But one of our treasurer says, we did that before and it didn't do any good. Well, I don't know. It might be different now, I think.
Yeah. There's a big push on social media for members and all kinds of support. I'm kind of
That would be really
for the
helpful.
chamber right now, so I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this legally, but it's just that I'm not just because I work for them, but the community would give you tremendous support, and you'd have an opportunity on a weekly basis to tell people about your events, tell them who you are. It would really get out in the community by doing that.
When you say weekly, what night?
No, it's in the morning, 7:30 Wednesday morning till 9 o'clock.
That's
There's
not
a
bad.
networking meeting with like 50 different businesses every single Wednesday morning.
Okay, Wednesday mornings, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
With coffee and continental breakfast and so. Coffee.
Well, there are a lot of Wednesday morning things that happen.
Yeah.
So I usually go to the gym
Good
on
idea.
Wednesday mornings, but I can put it off till later.
Give you some information on it.
Can I was hoping just to go back really quickly to the Art Center conversation briefly, to maybe clarify what we know about that process and ways to maybe move forward. Because it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we have two options we can suggest. Number one, if the city were to build a theater or art center combination, then I think one of the best approaches would be to contact city council directly with this desire, right? And we can certainly pass on what you're saying is a need as well, because we feel that way too. But the more people who do that directly, I think that would be effective. The other option is that a nonprofit forms and they pursue building a center of their own. And then the Arts Council can help by, if they qualify and go through our grants process, by helping them maybe with some grants, depending on where we are, what our budget is per year. And that's something where there may be other grant opportunities we can look out for too. So those are two pathways where if the city does it, we just need to tell them. We need a lot of people telling them this is what we want. And then if a nonprofit can be formed to pursue this, then let us know and we can try and help bring support.
All right, I will bring this to the board and actually before our next meeting, I think I'll get started on that. There's another way, I do keep buying lottery tickets.
Yes. Yes.
When I buy a lottery ticket, Oregon City is gonna get such a performance when I win the lottery.
I think it's the same thing.
But I'm not holding my breath.
I was gonna say also, I mean, we know we just finished a budget process, and I know as a relatively new, it was my first budget process as an employee to the city of Oregon City, our first budget process as an arts commission. I think we all learned a lot. and you know, so because, you know, the city has a biennium budget process, you know, we need to start getting coalitions together of different arts organizations and having ongoing conversations. And long before that final June or whenever that meeting was, that was like in May of this year, before they, as you know, the finance committee, you know, puts together a budget based on what they're hearing and what the city commission is hearing. So, you know, we just have to, we have to start.
So that's,
One thing I learned in 20 years of government is a lot of politics gets done in the hallway.
Right.
So,
but you're saying, and if we like start networking with local art organizations now, including the local Symphony, and get their support for something like an art center, then in May, April, we can start lobbying our city council for the need of this.
And people here on the Arts Commission can be meeting individually with members of our city commission and asking them, how much do you want to hear from us, or how much noise should we make or not make?
Okay, that's a good idea.
And getting the support of a variety of different arts organizations as well.
Well, and I'm going to say it, the Clackamas County Courthouse would be ideal.
Ooh.
pardon?
The Clackamas County Courthouse on Main Street would be ideal.
Well, that has to be replaced, right?
They're moving the
Down,
courthouse,
the
but
one
the
on Main
building,
Street, they
yeah.
are building a new, correct, at Red Soils.
A seismically correct one.
Right.
Oh, seismic.
But is it big enough for a symphony orchestra? We have to
It's a
have,
very large structure,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of potential with it.
well, our general, usually our regular symphony size is about 50 or 60 people on the stage, plus instruments. Plus, you have to have room for the seats and the stands. There also has to be a place to store the maybe not the seats, but you have to store the stands. You have to store the sound shields. You have to store most of the percussion instruments are way too big to move around. They have to stay there. So stuff like that is very important. Yeah.
So to piggyback off of talking about venues and things like that, I have a few questions. First of all, where are you all rehearsing right now? Like, do you have a venue you're using?
Well, right
just
now,
for
we're on,
rehearsals?
the Willamette Falls Symphony is on hiatus, but right now, the Oregon Mahler Festival is going on. And we're going to play the Mahler's Ninth, which is extremely difficult, but really worth it, on Saturday night at 7:30 at Lake Oswego High School.
Okay.
Be there or be square, as the saying goes. And I think the tickets for that are more expensive than the ones for Willamette Falls, but I'm not on the board and I never pay to go to the Mahler Festival because I'm always playing. But let's see, we are usually at Oregon City United Methodist Church on South End Road. during
Were you rehearsing?
COVID, they wouldn't let us in for a while, but Northwest Christian in Tigard let us in. And symphony orchestras don't fit anywhere smaller than a church. I mean, it
Right.
just doesn't happen. So, so that's where we are,
And
yeah.
then the other part of my question is well, how long has it been on hiatus, the symphony?
Since June 11th.
Okay, and that was due to,
That was, we did Tchaikovsky's Fifth.
oh, okay.
And we're starting rehearsals again at the end of August.
Oh.
For a concert in October featuring Sibelius One, which is gonna be good.
Yeah, and then,
It's so romantic.
so when you do these performances, like, what is your audience size?
The audience has been getting younger and younger. It used to be all elderly people, and there are still a number of elderly people. Younger people are coming now too, and they're bringing their kids. Kids under 12 are admitted free if accompanied by a paying adult.
Nice.
I mean, no fair bringing your kids and leaving them there for us to babysit them. And seniors and students get a rate too. I think it's $12 instead of $15. So we do get students. We get kind of a mix. We do not see a lot of Black people in the audience, but part of that is because this is Oregon, where they didn't ratify the 15th Amendment until 1956, and there aren't that many Black people. So we have a lot of Asian, Latinx, mostly Mexican, I think, but some Guatemalan. And of course, lots and lots of European Americans, right? So
So, I meant numbers, like what size is the
about
audience?
200,
200, oh, okay.
roughly 200. It would be
Okay.
nice, and we could fit more in if we had a bigger spot.
Yeah, and are you
place.
looking for other venues also? Like,
Pardon?
are you trying to also find other venues?
Yeah, I mean, we're very grateful to Oregon City United Methodist because they let us store our stuff there.
Oh,
And they're giving us a decent rate. But you know, we're outgrowing it.
Yeah,
And one of the things we're thinking of doing is doing virtual virtual tickets, e-tickets, and letting people watch from home. But it's not the same thing as being in the room with this live symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
If you have ever been in the room with one, you know, it's not the same thing. It's like when you have 50 people playing pianissimo, that is just as moving as 50 people playing fortissimo. I mean, it's not like you turn up a potentiometer to get it louder or softer. This is really, there's passion in both of them, and it communicates.
Yeah.
It's like a live performance of a movie, a play, yeah?
Is the theater at Clackamas County Community College, the community CCC, is that a venue too small for your orchestra?
It's a little small, and
Okay.
And also the thing is, it's a school. When you go to a school, the school gets preference. You can schedule we schedule a year in advance. You can schedule something for June, and then 2 days before the performance, the basketball coach says, I want an award ceremony for my kids, and they can boot you. And this actually kind of happened once, not perhaps in that specific way, but it's not good. It's because then you've got all these people coming and they can't come. So schools are hard. Most of the orchestras in the area are sponsored by schools, which means that they get the use of the schools.
yeah.
Or they are sponsored by some nonprofit that has a space for them or rents a space for them. We don't have any sponsoring organization. It's just us. We do it. We go out and get grants. We make friends with rich people. We go to local businesses and we say, hey, McMenamins, would you like to do a friends and family night for us? And they'll say, sure. But it's only on Monday or Tuesday that they do that because,
Yeah. OC Brewing does like pints for causes too. Well,
Pardon?
Oregon City Brewing does pints for causes too. If you're looking for like fundraising things
Well,
with local businesses.
I think Haley's doing that. I should ask her. I'm pretty sure she did. Oregon City Brewing donated a basket, was not a basket, I think they gave us a $100 gift card for our silent auction in June.
Yeah.
And so did Highland Stillhouse, which has been the
I love
official
that.
pub of Willamette Falls Symphony for years.
Well, they pick a night a week and they'll do like, give $1 from every pint sold to an organization to help raise
That's
money for
good.
the organization. So you might.
I think they usually do it on one of the less busy nights
Yeah, that's true.
because
That's true.
they don't want to give that many dollars.
Yeah.
But they do that. And we like all of that. Sweet Masterpiece down on Main Street. Crystal supports us. She likes us. We had a 20th, well, actually, it was a 40th birthday party for the orchestra and a 20th anniversary for Mark in 2021 in the summer. And Crystal made the cake for us. So, what else? Modified also supports us, and the World Hearts near Singer Hill. I mean, we've gone to a bunch of, but they give small amounts because they don't have large amounts.
Right.
And small amounts are great. We're not knocking it. I would just really like to see Phil Knight come by and say, you know, they need $10 million. And then just, you know, if we got one endowment, $10 million, we could coast for 100 years, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
If only, right? That's why I keep buying the lottery tickets, right?
I'm sorry, I know I'm asking random weird questions. What size performance area does the orchestra need? Like, how many people do the orchestra make?
We
up
usually
the
have
orchestra?
50 or 60.
Oh,
If it's
that's
going to be Mahler, that's double that number.
Yeah.
And in fact, Mahler 8th is even too big for Lake Oswego High School. We're trying to, it's going to take us 2 years to get it together, but the Oregon Mahler Festival wants to do the 8th, which is sometimes known as the Symphony of 1,000, because it's a huge orchestra and it calls for like 6 or 8 choruses jammed together because, you know, they have to outsing the orchestra. It's I've seen that performed
So,
in Davies Hall. Davies Hall barely contained it, and
Yeah.
Davies Hall is big.
so when you have a venue and you do a performance, the space needs to hold a 50-member orchestra and you are having 200 people come to listen, and that's the space you're needing to.
Well, if we have a place that's big enough for us that if we're planning it, we can plan for a lot more than 200
Right.
seats. I mean, we have like 1,000 seats at Lake Oswego High Schools, or more than that maybe. It's a huge place, and we get bigger and bigger audiences every year. So,
Do you do outdoor venues?
pardon?
Do you do outdoor venues?
We did, before the library was expanded, we would play a Pops concert every summer out behind the library, and that was a lot of fun. And in fact, the Highland Stillhouse catered it. So we
The
had,
Festival of the Arts one year too, when I managed the Festival of the Arts.
pardon?
You did the Oregon City
did.
Festival of
We
the
did
Arts,
that.
but I mean, and you also, another year you came with a trio of
That, I
three.
was in that trio.
Yes,
yeah.
that's how I recognize you.
But that
yeah.
was because
Beautiful.
we were told, well, you know, you can send small groups, but we don't want the orchestra because you bring in a couple of hundred people, but a rock band brings in more than that. So, okay, yeah.
I don't think, I think the situation was that the stage there was too small for you. So when we first had you, we had to put you outside. And then there were people in your orchestra that wanted to have the microphones in the different sections, and we didn't have the
Yeah.
materials to do
Well,
that.
if you only have one
So, yeah.
microphone,
Yeah.
it's not really.
I know,
gonna-
and that we didn't have that. We didn't have a sound man. A lot of it is volunteer. So I
Yeah.
think we really couldn't accommodate the complete, because we tried one year, we couldn't accommodate the full orchestra, but then we asked.
Well,
if
you know,
wanted to come
these
to the
large
trio.
orchestras, the Mahler orchestras even,
Mm-hmm.
were the thing before we had electronic amplification.
Mm.
So they could fill a hall with sound without a problem. We need amplification for outside because it's outside.
Right.
We can't
Yeah.
fill, all of the air
Yeah, it
around
takes
us
a
with
lot
that
of
kind of,
equipment to
that
do
kind of sound. It was good behind the library, and by the way, those concerts we did for free. I mean, we didn't take any admissions for that. It was just people would come out and picnic.
Right. Yeah, it was
Did anybody
wonderful.
ever attend any of
It was
those?
amazing.
Yeah. And We once did something at a cemetery. We did a summer concert at the cemetery, and we did Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture, and the National Guard came out and fired off cannons.
Oh, how fun.
It was fun. Anyway,
Well, we very much appreciate, Selena, you coming here. It is very
I'm Selena.
important.
That's Carol.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Selena,
Carol, we very much appreciate you coming and speaking to the Arts Commission about the importance of music and Willamette Fall Symphony to the community, and we're wholeheartedly agreeing, and we'll do our best to make it so that's at the forefront.
all right. Anne has my email. If anybody has any more questions, feel free.
Look out for our grant applications, which will be coming out this year, because we do offer grants to organizations and individual artists.
Yeah, I
So-
think Anne is going to alert me to that, right?
It'll be in the spring, I believe, like it was this year.
Yep. Okay, so I really thank you for giving me the opportunity to rant on and on about my favorite orchestra. I really love it. I really think Oregon City is a coming place, by the way. I left Portland to move to Oregon City because of this orchestra. It doesn't happen often that people will do stuff like that for one performing organization, but I really love it. And I hope you kind of get to know it and love it as much as I do. And I will take everything that you've said to heart, and I will be asking people to spread the word and let the council know how much we want one, performing arts space, and funding, of course. So I suppose I should shut up now.
Thank you, Carol.
I always want to take a bow.
Well, thank you very much, Carol, and again, apologies on the first name. Discussion items. I guess I should mention that the briefing, again, gentleman was not able to attend today's meeting. So discussion items, first item is discuss implementation of Enhancement Grant Award.
I also want to say, nice job, Trieste, for pulling the application together and getting it, the Enhancement Grant Program Committee approved it. It was one of those.
You're welcome.
So, yeah.
Oh, so do you want me to go ahead with it? Oh, okay, great. So everybody has a copy of it.
I have a copy of the actual
Copies over there.
application, and you have a copy of.
I brought my application with me. And then does anybody need the application? We can go through it. I don't know if you need a copy of it. It's pretty simple. I just went right to the point. So is everybody okay with just going through it? Anybody want one? Okay. So anyway, it was in two parts. First part is to hire, or like an art, I call it an art surveyor. We have received, it's an amazing spreadsheet of every piece of art in Oregon City from the planning department. It does need a couple of updates, but this has the name of the piece. This is not in here, but they gave it to us. It has the name of the piece, the value of it, the address of it, when it was put in, and even pictures for most of them. So the idea is, and that was from the planning department, so the idea is to give that to, do a call for a surveyor to do a study of all of the art pieces in Oregon City and put them in prioritize them on what needs the most work or not, what needs to be replaced down to what looks good right now. So we will give that person, whoever we choose, we will give that person the spreadsheet, so then it's easy for them to go through. They'll have the address, they'll have the piece of art, they'll have when it was installed, and then it will be up to them to take a look at the piece of art, determine how much work needs to be done on it, restoration or replacement, then an approximate cost on it, and then prioritize that and bring that back to us. So that's the first part. And in talking to a couple of people, I always like to get quotes whenever I do a grant. So I had a quote of $2,500 to do that. And at that time, they didn't realize that they would be given the list. So that takes some time off, but I put $2,750 in the grant for that portion of the work. The other portion was in the prioritization or the priority. What would be the first piece? What is the first piece that needs to be either replaced or refurbished? What's the worst one? And I put right in the grant that we know right offhand that the sculpture on the corner of 7th and Center was damaged beyond being able to be refurbished. It has to be replaced because we knew we didn't have enough money for it. And when you do a Metro Enhancement grant, there always has to be in kind, whether it's hours you're putting in or actual money. So what I put in the grant was the $5,800 that we're receiving through the insurance. And in addition to that, I asked for $15,900. $2,750 of that will go to the person that does the study, and the rest of the money hopefully will cover the cost of the sculpture. So that's what the grant is for. I think I'm going to open it up to questions rather than going through this piece by piece, because that's pretty much in a nutshell. If you want to take a look at it for whoever who has it, if you have any questions on it.
Therese, can I just ask, can I kind of re-say things because I got confused?
Absolutely.
Because I originally thought that this money was only to replace that one sculpture, but it's for assessing all the public sculptures in Oregon City. Okay.
Yes, and then.
And then-
there's a two-part.
Okay, so can you just point out to me exactly how much is for the repairs of at least the first sculpture?
Yeah, so the amounts are, I think it's probably on the third or fourth page, where you have to put a budget of where costs are going to go. So we asked for the grant itself, after going through all this, we asked for $15,900. That includes the money for the artist, and then with that money for the artist, because the artist will be managing that also, I have $1,500 in materials, $500 in equipment and supplies. Construction, I thought of it as if you've got to build a stand or a foundation for it, that would be a little bit of construction costs. And then I always like to put event costs. I think it's always a good thing when any piece of art goes up that you have a public party for it, a coming up party. And I put $500 in for that. So that was a total, and the $2,750, so that comes to $15,900. 5,800, is it 5,800 or was it 6,000 from the insurance? I wasn't sure.
It was the 5,800.
I think it was 5,800. So 5,800,
Yes, before you go into that, so that means that materials, equipment and supplies, construction costs, those are the three that would really go towards the sculpture?
right, the sculpture itself, those
The
three
big chunk
things.
of money goes towards the sculpture.
Yeah,
The 10,000, the personnel services, is that for paying the artist?
yeah, that's for the artist.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then, so the artist would get the 10,000, and then we have materials, equipment, and construction costs that would also go to them for, okay, great, thank you.
What is
Sorry.
the total if you add all that up?
The total to going towards the
For
sculpture.
sculpture replacement?
So I just took the amount we got from the grant and minus the survey and then added back in the 5,800, and it's a total of 18,950. Just, yeah, it's a nice chunk.
And I also looked in, the actual sculpture was actually called, and I have never heard of this, it's called fortified concrete, which is made with fiber. Has anybody have any experience or know artists that have experience? Oh, you
I don't know artists that have experience,
Yeah.
but I know the process.
Okay, good. I also contacted Clackamas Community College for their art department because they do have a whole ceramic pottery, and she was going to look into it for me.
We could also reach back out to ADU PDX, the collective of makers that are like three-dimensional makers that I
Perfect.
talked to try and get an idea of what type of money. They are very interested in like opening the call up to their artists because they have
okay.
so many people that are making three-dimensional work.
Yeah, that'd be
so-
great. And I think fortified concrete is very, very reasonable. That's why the amount that is valued at was because of that. That's what I think. I don't know that for sure. But I think everybody thought it was a mold, a bronze and a mold, and that's why it was so expensive, because those are expensive. But the actual material of that piece was fortified concrete,
yeah.
which is a lot cheaper. But I have seen Mayor McGriff here and there on different things, and we've talked about it. I know that they are open to other kinds of sculpture. I think what's most important to them is just the likeness of it and the creation of it. So, yeah, if I would love some help on that, on who to contact, who to send the call for artists. Anybody knows anybody? I know a couple of artists that do metal sculptures. You know, maybe it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So, the other thing I put together that I brought with me tonight too is choir. Thank you so much. I took her call for artist and I just like slashed it here and there and changed some words. And so I know, so I have a draft for the call for artist, for the call for the surveyor. That I would like to get out. Not that it's a rush, we have other things that are a priority right now, but a little sooner than later, I would like to be able to do the call for artists, select somebody in, 2 weeks to 30 days from the time we put the call for art, give them a chance another month. So I'm thinking a 2 or 3 month process to really get that study back. So I have copies of it. I kept looking to Ann, I have them. I'll give these out if you guys have a chance to review this and get back to me on any changes or, comments on it.
I guess I just wonder if something like this, which is 2,750, is that something that the city could just do like a direct to point on, or do we have to go out and
What's the dollar?
2,750?
For the surveyor.
It's basically for the study, the art collection study. Is that something that, do we have to?
Do we have to use this grant money?
No, I'm sorry. Do we have to use this process?
Oh,
Like putting out a call. to
Putting
find
out a
someone.
call
Yeah, I was
versus
thinking the same
just
thing,
like,
just finding someone.
calling 3 different folks that do this
Yeah.
type of work and figuring out if they could do it for that amount and
I mean,
saying, yeah, we agree.
Yeah, any procurement process that's $10,000 or less, I believe it's an informal process where you do make you reach out to 3 different sources
Yes.
and you try to get information based upon those sources, but it doesn't have to be a formal RFP at that dollar amount.
That's wonderful. That would be wonderful. Thanks for bringing that up. Because I do have someone in mind that does mural restoration. They do creation of murals. They're know engineering, they know construction, and that was the person that I went to and said, brought that idea and said, what do you think about cost? And she took some time. She gave me back a full page of this is what it would be and this is what would happen. And so I have someone in mind already if other people have any other names.
Yeah, so basically, we can adjust the process to be just making sure we contact at least 3 people and then pick a person. and
I'll
select this.
confirm that, but that's my understanding.
Okay, that would be
In
wonderful.
fact, what I'd like to do, and when you were talking about sending out a call and then giving time for it, at first I thought you were talking about the RFP for the statue
Yeah.
replacements, and then I got kind of confused. So let's go through that, can we go through that proposed timeline again, please? For finding someone to do the
Oh, yeah,
assessment you're
so
talking about.
that's going to cut everything a lot shorter. So say that within 30 days from if people can give names, that we ask 3 people, get their credentials, make a decision, say that's by the next meeting, then I think it would be fair to that person to give them 30 days to be able to go through the list, take a look at it. And I think even the best thing is the person we choose to say to them, how much time will you need? We're going to give you the list. And most of the things on the list are going to be, they're not even, I mean, because it's a really inclusive list, there's nothing going to be done. There's the street lanterns and there's inside artwork, but everything is on it. So there's not going to be a lot that really has to be surveyed and looked at, and then to do the report. So the person that I talked to said it would take them about 2 weeks in order to do that, to complete it.
So Therese, are you asking us as your fellow commissioners to find at least 2 more names?
Yeah,
And
if you have them.
And do you want,
Sure.
you want us to kick you the names and you'll contact them? Or are you wanting us as individuals to contact them, or?
As, if you know them as individuals, you can contact them and say, we're looking for someone. And I think we probably should do at least though, I mean, because I'm not familiar with this process, what would we do?
Right.
Ask for credentials from them?
Well, and I guess maybe it would be nice if you could provide us with some information. 'Cause I'm going under the understanding that it would be the city that would actually be doing a contract with this. I mean, it's kind of like, how do we as a commission expend money?
Yeah.
Right? And are we as a commission expending money through the city, and does the city have certain processes? Or do we as a commission, are we just writing someone a check? Which I don't feel like that's the way that we're gonna do it, but it just needs to be clarified, because I think that impacts how we, the information we get from people and.
Yeah,
and
those-
And I know from the Metro Enhancement Grant, and this might clear it up, is that the person that receives the grant, what they have to do is get an invoice, and they give that invoice to the city, and the city pays for it.
Oh.
Or you pay for every single thing has to be documented. You just don't receive the grant
Right.
and spend it
Right.
piece by piece, so that
Yeah.
might.
That,
be
I
the
mean, maybe
process,
that, maybe that is the way that it's,
Right.
but.
I'll get more information. I believe you guys are managing the project, so you'll be finding the contractors, just like you're saying, like, let's get some bids, let's discuss the bids, let's decide who we want to use with, and then, I mean, so you guys will be managing that
Okay.
process, and then, yeah, I will figure out who,
Okay.
does that mean that, does the invoice have to then, yeah, I think I will figure
Right.
out what the terms of the actual billing need to be, but in terms of managing the process, it's members of the commission.
Okay, and so it's a little bit more simple that way, in the sense of, there aren't a lot of like rules that the city might have that we need to follow. We just have to, it's more like hiring a contractor, just like you said, like an individual hiring a contractor that says, oh, okay, you said you can do it for this amount, you gave me a quote, I will pay for that quote.
You know, so you guys will have this, you'll develop the scope of work, you'll ask people to bid on the scope of work, and then you'll be the ones choosing who will do the
Right.
work.
And in essence, this is what you wrote up, is kind of what the scope of work should be.
And then when we choose someone, they send in their invoice to the city. They can give it to us too, and we'll give it to the city, who then pays for it out of our budget.
Right. So I've done a couple of Metro Enhancements grant, and that is actually easier, is you have the city pay for it. You have them give the invoice, you give that invoice to the city, and they pay them directly. There's some times where, as the manager, I would have to rent something, and then I'd have to put in my credit card, same thing. All I would have to do is have an invoice, and then they would pay me directly off of them. You have to have not only the invoice, but you have to have proof of payment that was done. So those 2 pieces of information, and then they reimburse you. But I liked the thing of just having them pay the, whoever you hired directly. It was easier.
One thing we should also figure out, so if you're gonna review the scope of work tonight, you're gonna get, information about who to share that scope of work with. We should figure out the timeline. At what meeting do we want to select the contractor, and at what meeting how often do you want to meet with the contractor? So we
Right.
should think about how you want to put
Yeah.
that together.
And we have a year, so I don't want to feel anybody rushed on it. I would just like to get the ball rolling, but I don't want to feel like, oh, we got to do this, and because we have other priorities, I think, right now. So,
Is the city going to be providing all access, full access to this contractor that we select? Or
say,
will
what do you
there
mean by-
be
what do you mean by
hurdles?
full access?
Well, a lot of them might be referenced in city documents, let's say, but are not known. I mean, they're gonna have to be speaking with many different groups and organizations, I think, to find all of these city
No,
art
there are.
pieces, right? Because I know RACC, for example, had said that there are a substantial that might be owned by personal citizens now. I mean, it's just something to consider in terms of,
That's true.
I mean, there is that potential, and maybe even city
I'm wondering,
employees have some of the art pieces. We don't know. I'm just saying, worst case scenario, is the city going to be working with and proactive with the contractor to try and obtain a full list of art pieces that,
Well, they have the full list. They have a full detail list. The only things that aren't on it is the brand-new mural and a note about the restoration of the trolley car, which I said, when I saw it, I said, oh, you have to add this onto it. But other than that, it's really up to date. And I've gone through it a few times. There's no problem with accessing anything. You know, because most of the pieces that would need even to be looked at are the murals and the sculptures. You know, there's lanterns outside. Those are just the bronze lanterns. There's nothing that, you know, to my eye, I thought, oh my God, that's going to be hard to look at. I mean, and they're only going to be working with that list. We don't have to put anything else into that at that point. We don't have to do any research about what else is in Oregon City. The planning department gave us all that. So we're all set there.
so
Does that make
like
sense?
John McLaughlin's house, right, that has a significant amount of art pieces. Do we know if City of Oregon City has any of their art pieces within that structure? Or any of the historic?
I mean, do we want to get that extensive?
I would have thought that's what it would have
Are
involved.
those considered public art, though, if it belongs to the
I mean, is
national
it
park?
solely public art that we are a
Yeah,
full
yeah,
list
this is
of
public- this is
art?
public art,
Yeah, that would be managed by the historical.
Where does it say public art on this? I was not aware of it was just solely public art. I thought it was all art.
It does say at the
City
beginning, the
owned.
current Oregon City Art Collection, so.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, that's everything. That's not just public
Well,
art.
I wouldn't think so. I think the planning department keeps track of the City of Oregon City art collection. I think things like the historical houses are separate on its own, that are managed by the, you know, Oregon City Historical or.
City of Oregon City
whatever
Parks and Rec, probably, most likely.
Is our-
The McLaughlin House is a national
Right,
monument.
but like Ermitinger House
Oh.
or the Rose Museum, those are City of Oregon City owned properties. I was just asking.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would be, I mean, it would be really cool history to see
We may want to have
what's listed.
it sounds like that would be something where it could use its own funding and focus too, because that could be a very different set of surveyor skills too. If we're talking about, like, I was under the impression we were originally focusing on outdoor public sculpture, and that's one pretty specific set of skills, but some of that stuff in like the Ermitinger House, which I can't even pronounce correctly.
Well, like a museum curator.
Yeah, would need to,
But
that would be
that's what I was
someone
under the
else,
impression
yeah.
it was all Oregon City art collection, not public art.
Yeah, and I mean, I left it up to discretion of the planning department. They don't have those on their list. They have the art pieces that were paid for. They have the, you know, inside the library, there's a beautiful sculpture inside of that. That's part of their list, but of course, that doesn't really need any work. I think, and what we're really focusing on is what needs to be restored or what needs to be replaced, which are the murals and the sculptures.
Yeah,
Those are the, to me, that's what, I wanted to be able to put a whole study together. But that's what would really love to see is what's disappeared, what's not there anymore. What is so falling apart that it has to be, the wall has to be repaired and a new mural put in its place.
I think that some of the confusion, it would be helpful if we all had access to the list, so we
Yes.
know what we're talking
I'll
about.
send it to you and then you can distribute it.
Yeah, that'd be
everyone.
great. And
Let's
it
do
will
that.
also help us understand, like, in terms of inviting potential folks, like what we're inviting them to do.
Okay.
And I think yes, absolutely, the emphasis on restoration, but also understanding what we are saying we want to take care of and what the long-term plan for all of the pieces, because they're not gonna stay in perfect condition forever. So like, how do we budget out for future needs?
So I have two questions then. Should we be more explicit about public art in the application you created? And then number two, should we come into the next meeting and maybe have this rewritten as a scope that we could even share with the companies who might be qualified surveyors? Would that be a good next step for us?
I think that's a good stuff. And even if we put the language in here as given to us by the planning department of Oregon City. So really be specific on that. So I can change that in there. And I'll send this to you electronically. With that one addition, you might have other suggestions, but I think that's a good idea, is to come to the next meeting with any changes or revisions you have.
And then we'll leave that meeting with that thing that we can present the companies. And so the meeting after that, Anne, we would be bringing our contacts, our potential surveyors to vote on which we would like to use.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that sounds good.
2 months from now.
Yeah, well, I think if it's something you can just share to treat it with, I think if it doesn't require a full conversation, then maybe you don't have to wait a whole month. So once you, in other words, if you finalize the scope at the August meeting, maybe we can just start moving forward at the
Yeah, that's,
September, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're saying that we'll send everything out to everybody and then give me any revisions or anything you want changed from this.
I see.
After you have a chance, and then in the August meeting, we can decide, yes, this is the final one.
August meeting.
Whoever
we'll
has a
define the scope of
contact,
work.
bring that to them.
Into the August meeting?
Well, no,
Oh,
we'll
to the September
finalize
meeting.
everything in the August meeting, and then at that point, you can contact whoever you want, and then hopefully by September, we can bring everything in and make a decision on who we want to choose from what we,
It seems like that might be a good opportunity if folks are available for them to come to
oh,
that
yeah,
September
that's a
meeting.
good idea
Oh.
too, yeah.
That'd be cool, would
Right.
be really cool to get
Yeah.
names to faces.
Yeah.
Does that give people enough
Right.
time to respond? Or I guess they don't need to put together a proposal, they're just
Yeah.
coming to it's more like an interview than
Right.
so that's a
And
sufficient amount of
tell them
time.
if you want to bring in some of your, work. I think I have in here to bring a resume, past experience of knowledge of mural or sculpture restoration, and a paragraph of a statement of interest. And if they wanted to bring something that shows their work. But you guys can take a look at this, add anything in that you want, or take it out.
And I'll forward it to the arts commissioners who aren't here tonight, so they can also take a peek at it.
Yeah. And I just once again want to thank Choir, because I think what she put together, we can use over and over.
You did the dirty work, Choir, well done.
This took me like 10 minutes.
okay, that's great.
That's great.
I didn't like write it from scratch, let's say that. I
Oh my
did
gosh.
look up other calls.
It was great. Okay, good. I feel good. Anybody else have any questions or input?
So, we have this piece and we know how we're moving forward with that. Do we know how we're moving forward with the call for the sculpture? Because I think at one point you were putting it together we're going to, or there was something on the table, and then another point I was helping, and that's how I was like, hey, we don't have enough money, and then you gave us
Was
the money.
Tammy Jo part of that one? Part of that application?
I don't know, I think it was like,
We put a draft together, but that was a ways back.
yeah,
Yeah.
It might be ready to go. I can't remember where we landed on that.
okay.
Me either.
Well, this might be an opportune time to ask, should we make kind of a schedule moving forward for our priorities as the group? Because we need to finish that application.
Yep.
We need to decide on our budget. We need to get our grant schedule kind of defined, so we're not racing towards it again. And we wanted to maybe do multiple grant sessions, I think.
Yeah.
So in the next session, is that something we can plan to go through, bring all of our priorities and then make a schedule for when we should be jumping on them?
Yeah.
That might address what you were talking about too, Claire. I didn't mean to.
Oh, no, I was
Confuse
just,
your
I was just
question.
like, no, I was just like, do we know who's doing this piece and how we can move forward with that? Because I was like, it was a little ambiguous. I feel like we kind of decided something, and then, yeah,
I can't remember now.
I know.
Can't either.
I know at one point, like, I started to work on something, and then that's how I was like, oh, this insurance money. Who decided that?
I do know at our August meeting, we'll be reviewing the submissions for the public bathroom art.
Right, yes.
That's fun.
That's gonna be lovely.
I have asked, the owner of
excited.
Singer Hill is redeveloping their whole space for, art studios, potential art, gallery, retail space. And he would like to come, he'd like to ask to be on the agenda to talk a little bit about that to the art commission. Sounds really exciting. I don't know if everybody knows where World Hearts is. They decided to just keep Westland, so that's all open. So if any, like 2 or 3 artists wanted to get together, and they'd have retail and 3 different rooms, and I don't know, could be somebody's dream.
Yeah.
And then they have artist workspace in the back where their warehouse is. And then they've decided that the gallery that used to be the Three Rivers Artist Gallery, they don't want to set that up as dining space because they just can't accommodate it with the kitchen they have now. So they want to open that up into a gallery. So lots of space for art.
Is
And they
Three
are
Rivers-
literally saying no to people that are just like insurance companies. They are focusing on art. They want to make that space art-friendly and
Is-
art supportive.
Is Three Rivers going back into that space then? No? Okay. Interesting.
It was offered to them, but they never responded, so
Oh, wow.
not sure why.
Since
Do
we're
we
gonna
have, do
be,
you know if we have, do we have time at the August meeting? I don't know how long. I don't, without knowing how many submissions we're going to receive, it's hard to know how much time it will take for us to select.
We could tell him you can only have, what, 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Could restrict his timeline, say we have a lot to cover, but we can give you 5. I said to them, we may not even meet in August, but what about September? They said September's too long, let me know if we can fit it in August, so up to you guys.
September's too long? Oh, far away. I see. Yeah.
Because I
Okay.
do like Selena's suggestion of like making some goals for the year and thinking about, you know, what is our schedule, and if we do have a second round, I shouldn't say if we do have budget for a second round of grant applications and what, you know, so I liked your suggestion about taking some time at the next meeting to review the calendar for the year.
I do too.
I'm gonna send you bullets right after this meeting
Okay.
of things, but if we all did that and sent her a list, go into it with that, rank them, like we've done before, I think we have a good groove. Get it done.
Nice.
I would love at some point to dedicate some time to talking about an art cultural center. Where do we begin? Who do we contact? Okay, what organizations? If every nonprofit got together and threw money in and
Yes.
got grants and, just.
Or how do we get the city to do it? Either one of those.
Yeah.
I think even
Yeah.
pursuing both.
How did the research stadium do it out in Beaverton? I have contacts with some people through a steering committee that, they're spending $500,000 on an art and cultural plan for 4 different counties. Clackamas is one. And we've gone through about a year of this. We're starting the process of the biggest question that everybody has is funding. Where do we get it? How do we get it? So I'll keep you guys informed. I mean, right now, it's just a plan. It's not even any money, but.
Well, and the reason, the thing is people have to pay so much to use it that it won't be extremely useful to our local orchestra if we have to pay what you have to do for the Reeser, because nobody can afford that. You have to be much bigger gigs.
Yeah, I realize that, yeah.
I know the city of Auburn, Washington has a really great public art program, and they just opened up an art center. And I think it would be kind of cool. I could reach out to them. I did some public art there. I think it'd be really cool if we could get a virtual meeting, one of our meetings, and ask them how the strategy they took to get their art center, because it's a really nice, and it's just open, and they've been working on it for years. So.
And where is that again, Claire?
It's and that's the thing too. It is just this tiny little suburb, 40 minutes outside of Seattle. That people are like, what's Auburn, Washington? It's
Auburn?
Auburn, yeah.
Choir. I love that idea. One of the things I kept thinking when Carol was speaking is, man, I wish you had the specs written down of what you think your orchestra needs, because how many of us understand that, oh, you do need microphones throughout the orchestra.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that makes sense, but I wouldn't even know where to begin. And I think that makes it very difficult for any supporters to really know how they can support or what they're even getting into. But if we approach the city council, if we got information from this center that you were just talking about.
Yeah, about how they did
And
it.
even had a loose roadmap for one way.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot easier to, consider.
That's kind of why I was grilling her all those questions.
Who knows
I'm trying to
what
wrap my
black
brain around
box
what you
means?
actually need.
She mentioned, Carol mentioned that, a black box paper.
Oh, yeah.
Is it just
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
I think she
Theater
means,
space.
yeah.
But it's fluid. It doesn't have a permanent stage. It's a big, some often black room that you can make into a lot of different kinds of uses. So
okay.
you could have, because it's all black, you can perform on this side or that side as though it was a stage, but it doesn't always have a raised platform. It's a multi-use performance space. But even if we had convinced the city that it was something where we needed a better theater for a school, I know she said that schools always had priority in her experience of those spaces, but that could be an inroad to getting at least a big theater. I love the idea of an art center, but again, with the Reeser, I worked for an organization that just brought in international pianists, and we rented the Reeser for an evening, and it was $2,000. And that's because, they're new and they have staff who are helping with all the acoustics. It's not one of those spaces you go in and store your stuff she was talking about. So I think starting with the model that you found might be really good. It might be more applicable.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I've contacted the school. I mean, I've been talking to people for 4 years now, so about the courthouse. And could we make that into our cultural center? What would it take? But also talk to the schools, what schools are closing? Is it available for an art culture? But the schools are always, their response is always, because they've done it 3 different times, is give us a plan, give us a business plan. And how are you going to do that? And I do have a business plan for it, I just never got that close enough to do that, got that farther along. So that's the schools. The courthouse has lots of problems with seismic, but there's one idea out there that there's a portion of the courthouse that it really needs to be upgraded. That portion could be demolished and made more of a parking space. I don't even know if that's true. These are just things that I've heard in talks over the last 4 years.
And speaking of parking space, parking would be a huge problem for that space.
And that was solving both problems, is take that portion of the building out, make that into a parking lot, then you take care of parking and you take care of some of the seismic
We
requirements.
don't want to have a parking lot in the middle of our.
The irony of the
Maybe a parking
problem
garage.
There you go.
downtown is there's tons of parking lots that are barely used just around up here. That like, I go walking all the time in this neighborhood and it's for like these businesses and there's like 5 cars in this giant parking lot. There's a bunch of them. And
This-
so,
The planning department did a whole study, I know it was presented to city commission March, that had all of those specifics that like what, they do traffic counts. I mean, the planning department had a grant and hired Rick Williams Consulting to do that, like live counts in the McLaughlin area, Midtown and downtown. So you're right, there are like, what times of day are places open, what times of day are things not around, what's available, what's not available.
yeah.
And it seems like the Clackamas Arts Alliance should be pursuing some of these conversations through the study that they're part of.
Yeah, well, they're the management portion of
Yeah.
it, so there's like 24 people that are the steering committee itself. Then there's a management team of, I wanna say there's about 10 people that Clackamas County Arts Alliance, Diane Alves is a part of that. So it's a huge study, I mean, it's huge.
Because with all of that data, like, how can we, like, potentially share that out with our community and say, like, there's a need, like, here's all of the information that we can point to, not just anecdotal, but like,
And they
This
just
study has been
finished the
done.
meeting yesterday, which was a 2-hour meeting, and right now it's been on Zoom, but we have some meetings in person, is they just completed the survey that they sent out to the public. And so they had all the statistics from that. So I wonder if it's at a point now that I can share it with just to see a lot of the same questions that we asked on our own survey, but more for artists, the support of artists and art. And such a big part of that is funding.
Well, I think in our priorities list that we should schedule out some steps that we want to meet as far as looking into venue options for either an art center or other theater.
I think the thing I learned too through the budget that I really wanted to bring up to even through in this point is that what I realized is that we really have to actively get allies. And that we have to actually become friends, take a commissioner out to lunch, take them for coffee and say, we need your support. How do we go about doing that? Because that's what I realized is I thought I had some relationships when it came to budget time. I was like, what? I thought you were going to say yes to that. So I think that's extremely important. And on top of just our own Oregon City commissioners, really having a relationship with them and getting their support is what's even more important but harder is the Clackamas County commissioners. Because that's who pulls the money strings. And I know Diane Alves goes to almost every single one of those meetings, whether it's by Zoom or it's person. She is on top of the Clackamas County commissioners because they have the money strings. But right now, if nobody knows this, and probably everybody does, is that there's not one penny being spent for anything right now except for the new courthouse. And it's really, really tough in Clackamas County, really tough right now.
Say things offline.
Let's talk Anyway, so I don't know. I mean, everybody has so little time and so much to do, but maybe start showing our faces up at the Clackamas County meetings and,
Well, and I'd feel more confident doing that too with our plan, because I think last year it was just like it felt like we were racing and it didn't have it as clearly defined, but I feel more empowered
I do too. I feel
with our
good.
successes now.
Right.
Well, and I feel like we should do maybe quarterly updates to the city commissioners.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's a really great
Oh,
idea.
that's a great idea.
Presents on occasion.
That reminds me, we have a grant report process for the people we gave money to, right?
Every quarter,
Yeah.
for the enhancement grant committee. Yeah.
You
No,
mean,
I'm talking about the grants that we gave out.
yeah.
Oh, our process.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of our process, I know we don't meet till August 17th, but don't forget Porch Fest, August 11th and 12th.
Yes.
That's gonna be so cool.
I've seen nothing about it. Like, I was just thinking about that. I was like, where is it?
They ran into a couple of glitches. So they literally got their poster done yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And it's going out, they brought it to the
No,
Chamber of
but
Commerce.
I wanted to have someone on my porch, but I'm like, where? Like,
Okay.
where are they finding
I'll give you
porches
Max
to
and Amanda's
fest on?
email.
Yeah.
If you're in the McLaughlin neighborhood and you got a porch.
She lives around the corner from you.
All right, so I will send you their contact information. They would love it. Yeah, they're thinking
I
that
mean,
it's
I'll
gonna
be doing the Arts Fest, but
It's the same weekend of
it
Arts
is, which
But
I'm
it's at
really
night.
disappointed.
It's
Oh, it's at night.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
shut the
finish
door.
the art festival of the arts and then go out to dinner at some wonderful place in Oregon City and then go walk around the McLaughlin.
Oh, that's awesome. I thought it was during the day.
Yeah, me too. I was like, why are we getting to the Arts Festival? But now that makes more sense.
Sends me an email too about the.
All right,
That was a little
Yeah,
drama.
that's
right.
awesome.
Can it be your
Um,
front yard instead of a porch?
Yeah.
They already have like 20 venues, I think, and 15 bands, or maybe the other way around, 15 and they're going for 40.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's fun. That's fun.
Cool.
That's gonna be
exciting.
awesome.
Are we done right on time?
Well, I feel like we did the
we have reports from
communications.
the
Oh, back to Jen. I'm so sorry.
Is that part of what we required? Is getting like feedback or reports about how the program goes? I can't remember.
One of the things that's in our contracts with each of the grantees is that they recognize the Arts Commission in their, somehow, like publicly recognize the Arts Commission. But no, we did not have specific,
It's unfortunate, because that would have been really great to be able to be like,
well, actually,
City
let me look that up.
Commission,
I know that's true for the small grants. Let me look at one of our large grant contracts. I can let you know for sure.
I know the, side note on the grants, the hidden creatures one that like we decided not to do. Like she went ahead and did it anyways, which was great. So I saw it on social media. She's hiding them throughout. And I was really
That's
happy about that.
cool. How do you follow that?
Oh, she's an artist I followed for a
Okay,
while.
so just follow her
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah,
That'd
it's,
be fun.
One Lane Road, yeah. Thanks.
yeah, stereo.
And just to go back to, so could I tell Phil Yates that we can put him on the agenda for like 10 minutes for the August? Is that okay?
I think we should squeeze it in just because.
Okay, we can squeeze it
Do
in,
people
okay.
mind if I answer the question about what we required of our grantees?
sorry.
So I'm looking at, so we do want everyone, acknowledgement of the Oregon City Arts Commission. The grantee agrees to acknowledge the Arts Commission in the promotion and delivery of the project, and then we give them some sample language. We do ask them to complete the Arts Commission survey after the completion of the project in order to provide suggestions on how to improve the Arts Commission grant program in the future.
So we need to make that survey. And that's a great opportunity for us to think about what would be helpful information for us to collect to also showcase what we've done through these grants.
That's a great, thanks for asking that question.
Yeah, that was a good question, Jen.
You know what I would love to have too is a logo, an Oregon City Commission logo. People like that, or Clackamas Rep, we are got a half-page ad in their Manna La Mancha program that says Oregon City Art Commission, and put it together for us. It looks wonderful. But they asked, do you guys have a logo? And I'm like, no, that
We
would be
should.
great.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need one. Yep.
Develop our own webpage.
Yeah, I know.
Can you ask how we start getting our own logo? Can you ask the city
I
that?
think maybe we just,
Feel like
We've
had this
brought this
discussion
up
on
before
the
and it was a little, I think,
Okay.
nebulous.
okay.
But then if we knew some of the specifics, we could put that on our
Advertising.
schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's a good logo artist? Anybody here do logo? I don't.
I do a
I know
little bit
a
of
good
that, but.
All right, well, at 8:31, we're gonna adjourn the Oregon City Arts Commission meeting.
Woo!
Yay.